Auschwitz. This was the name of a concentration and extermination camp during the Holocaust where over millions of Jews died. What exactly does that name mean, Mr. Dozier?
Auschwitz is simply the German pronunciation of the Polish town it was in, Auschwitz.
So Auschwitz was the largest German concentration camp. But exactly how large was it, Ms. Bliskow?
The camp was 1,000 meters by 400 meters, and there was a total of 78 single-story buildings to accommodate prisoners.
Simply huge. So in front of this concentration camp, there was a sign which read in German, Arbeit macht frei, which translates in English, to work sets you free. The irony of this sign is that labor was simply another form of genocide put forth by the Germans to exterminate the Jews. The Nazis called this extermination through work.
Wasn't the sign stolen recently?
Yes, back in 2009, the thieves cut the sign into pieces, mutilating it. It was recently put back together in 2011 and is being kept in a much safer location.
Wow. Simply wow.
So who exactly were the leaders or supervisors at Auschwitz?
The first for the camp complex was SS Lieutenant Colonel Rudolf Hose from 1940 to 1943, and after him was SS Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Leubenhaschwell until 1944. Succeeding him was SS Major Richard Baer until 1945. The commanders of Auschwitz-Birkenau, while it was independent, were SS Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Hargenstein from 1943 until 1944, and SS Captain Joseph Kermer from mid-May to November 1944.
And were hangings common?
They were held sporadically in camp, and were public, unlike shootings or the gas chambers. It was usually carried out during roll call, with all the other prisoners in attendance and watching.
So what were some of the items made out of the remains of the Jewish people?
Well, there were many rumors that they made soap out of the Jewish people's remains, mainly because of the letters RIF engraved into the soap, which was thought to stand for Rein Jüdisches Fett, or pure Jewish fat. However, the letters simply do not match up, so it remains just a rumor. However, they did find evidence of the use of hair shaved from the heads of the Jewish people found in a textile mill after the war ended. The hair was often used to make rough working clothes.
That is simply disturbing. I do believe that they made lampshades out of the remains of people. There's a specific story about a lampshade being found in the wreckage of Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The lampshade looked strange, so they started to research it. After some research and tests, they found that it was made out of human skin and it come from a concentration camp.
Oh my goodness, that is just horrible. Even worse was the experiments done on the Jews at Auschwitz. Would you like to elaborate on that, Mr. Dozier?
There were many different experiments done at Auschwitz during the Holocaust. The results of these experiments were many harmless people dying. One test was to see if twins were affected the same way by diseases. The Nazis sent the information they found from these tests off to research facilities to be further investigated. Another test was to put prisoners in a high-altitude simulating chamber to see how German pilots that were shot down would be affected by the immediate altitude change. Another test was to try and find cures or immunizations of diseases like malaria, fever, yellow fever, and typhus. These results were simply the deaths of innocent Jews. A last experiment was to see how different races were affected by infectious diseases. This again resulted in the deaths of defenseless Jews.
I can't imagine the Jewish people just letting these things happen. Is there any evidence of riots or rebellions at Auschwitz?
In fact, there was. On October 7th, 1944, there was a revolt after the prisoners learned that they were going to be killed. 3 guards were killed during the uprising, and the crematorium and gas chambers were blown up with explosives that were smuggled into the camp. The rebellion was crushed quickly, and most of the Jews involved were killed. And the women who had smuggled the explosives in were publicly named.